The story begins when the main character didn't want to work as a driver tonight. He was going to go home, take a shower and go to bed. But suddenly a beautiful girl jumped out onto the road, but she had a knife in her hand. She got into his car, but the main character indignantly said that she should have waited and only then got into his car. But she started threatening him and told him to go to Zhonglua immediately. He was frightened of her and thanked her that she chose him. After a while she started demanding his phone, but the main character said he had an old and useless phone. She was furious at him and said she didn't care and needed the phone right away. She took his phone and called the police. She said her name was May and she goes to Zijin school and reported that her friend was kidnapped. The main character told her, did she threaten him just because it was faster to get to Zhonglua? May said he was willing to pay him compensation for tonight, tomorrow after school. She told him that her little sister had been kidnapped, but she managed to send her a distress signal before the kidnappers saw it. The main character said that saving people is a good thing and helping a beautiful girl is the basis of happiness. After a while they got out of the car because May felt bad. She said she didn't have time, so she had to go, and also asked him not to forget to come to her school tomorrow. The main character thought it was strange and wondered if she would be okay. Suddenly a blonde girl came up to him and asked him if he wanted to have some fun, but he said he had things to do. She suggested that he come tomorrow and he could easily find her. At that time May went into an old building and found her little sister named Vivi. She ran up to her and wanted to free her, but at that moment some men came out to them and said that it was very stupid to come here alone. May stood up in the building and wasn't going to give up. The men laughed at her as she didn't stand a chance. But a strange man came to them. They just asked who was he. He had a knife in his hand and he told them that he was the driver of that girl and she had left her thing in his car and he had come to return it to her. May exclaimed why he came here, as it was not safe here. The gang leader told his men to kill this driver. The bandits wanted to hit him with an iron pipe, but at the last moment the main character disappeared. The men did not understand where he disappeared. As it turned out he was on top of the iron box. They tried to hit him again, but he easily dodged another blow. The head of the gang asked why he got in their way. He said that he was a simple driver and came here to return the customer's item. May thought, how dare he joke in such a situation. At this time the bandits decided to attack him all at once, but the protagonist had no problem with all of them and in a few minutes all the bandits were lying unconscious. May admired him and thought, is he really a simple cab driver? But as it turned out one of the bandits was faking it. He pulled out a gun and took May hostage. The bandits could not kill May, as they needed her and her little sister alive. He started shooting at the main character, but at the last moment he aptly threw a knife at him and pierced his arm. A plunger was lying near him and he kicked it and got right in the face of the bandit. May did not understand who could do that as the main character acted like a knight descended from heaven on a dragon. Suddenly the SWAT team burst in and twisted everyone there, including the main character. The SWAT team reported that the hostages were successfully rescued and several suspects were arrested. May and Vivi's parents arrived there. They were incredibly happy that their daughters were safe and sound. The SWAT team told them to tie up all the suspects, but the main character exclaimed that there had been a mistake and called himself a model citizen who brings justice, but the SWAT team didn't believe him. He told them to investigate the case. But the captain came up to them and said that wasn't necessary. The SWAT team didn't understand what was going on. The captain said he would personally deal with this man. The SWAT team knew their captain was infamous, so they bet a pack of cigarettes that the main character wouldn't last 3 minutes. But suddenly the captain came up to the main character, called him the boss, handed him a cigarette and asked what he was doing here, said that he was just stretching his muscles. He took off his cuffs and told the captain that he should learn to be vigilant and act on time and carefully. The captain got embarrassed and said that he had already learned that. The protagonist asked him not to call him boss anymore, since he was now a regular cab driver. The protagonist transferred to Zijin promised himself to graduate with honors and go to university to get a bachelor's degree. The next teacher introduced the new student to the whole class. He announced that he would now be in their class and asked him to introduce himself. But the main character said that his name was Fong, but the teacher asked, "Is that all the information?" The classmates saw him and immediately fell in love with him. May and Vivi couldn't believe it, as he was the one who saved them. The classmates wanted to make fun of him, as they thought Fong was very arrogant. He set his foot up that Fong fell down his face and hit the floor. But at that moment Fong just stepped on his leg, almost breaking it. The classmate was very hurt. Fong sat down at his desk and the classmate said that he better not mess with Liao, after he got in. Fong asked, "Is he really that strong?" The classmate said that Liao is not particularly strong, but the Celestial League behind him is amazing, many pay them not to be touched, they are the school Yakuza. Fong got excited and asked, "If they collect money, then they are rich?" At recess 2 hooligans approached him. They said that each should pay them 2,000 yuan for protection, or else he would be disabled. Tang exclaimed that the fee was only 1,000 yuan, then why did they double the price for Fong? He said that Fong stepped on his foot, so he should pay for the medicine, and next time, he should shut up and not say anything unnecessary. May and Vivi approached Liao. They asked what kind of performance he just made in front of the newcomer. Liao asked, "Since when does Princess May herself pry into their business?" The classmates were surprised that Vivi and May stood up for the newcomer, because their family is quite rich. Then why are they so worried about Fong? This point, Fong called Liao stupid and said that strength is in knowledge and they will understand it when they read more books. He said to take an example from him as he is studying hard to become a graduate student at Jiangnan University. Liao and his friend laughed at him. They told him if he doesn't want to give them money, in that case they will beat the money out of him. They simultaneously pounced on him, but at that moment Fong hit them with one punch. The classmates couldn't believe it. Did the newcomer dare to fight the Heaven League? Fong told them that he had tried so hard to educate and teach them, so they should pay him for his efforts. He knew that as soon as they walked out the classroom door, they would immediately run to their boss like dogs. Fong walked up to them and told them to give their boss a message to come to him after school and pay for his protection. Fong told Liao to make sure he gave that message else he would beat them badly. Everyone was shocked that Fong was demanding payment for protecting the Sky League. May wanted to take the initiative on herself, but at some point things went wrong. At that time, the teacher came into the classroom and said that the bell for class had already rung. She said she had heard that they had a newcomer in class, so she decided to reintroduce. Her name is June and she is an English teacher. He found this class very boring and after a few minutes he fell asleep. June saw him asleep. She went over to him and wanted to hit him on the arm with a magazine, but suddenly he pulled his hand away. She tried to push his head, but Fong dodged her hand perfectly. June exclaimed that she didn't believe he was asleep. Vivi said his joke had gone too far and it wasn't funny anymore. June wanted to kick him but accidentally hit the chair, at which point Fong woke up. She was very angry with him and told him in English that class was no place to sleep. Fong started talking to her in English. He apologized and said that he didn't sleep well last night so he fell asleep in class. She said that was no reason and if he fell asleep in class again, he would fly out the windows and listen to the lesson outside. Fong asked, did she say he would go to the widow's house? June couldn't believe that Fong was teasing her. After a few minutes, she was surprised to find that Feng's English pronunciation was clear, even better than hers. She said she forgave him this time, but next time he should think about how to allocate his time more wisely. Classmates couldn't imagine that Fong would turn out better than the teacher. Many classmates fell in love with him. Fong had fought overseas for several years and English had become his native. After a few 30 minutes, his English class ended, and at that time a crowd of people from the Celestial League were walking toward him. Tang was greatly frightened and told Feng that the Celestial League was very angry with him and he would not be able to fight and defeat them, and offered to run away from the class. But it was too late. The Celestial League boss came into the classroom and said, "Who is here Feng who dared to provoke him?" Feng saw him and started laughing out loud. He said he didn't think their boss would turn out to be a dwarf. The boss smiled evilly and said he was finished. Feng told them to let Tang go first since he had nothing to do with it. Liao exclaimed that Tang was helping him and he wouldn't let him go so easily. The boss said no man would get away from them today and told everyone to pounce on Feng and make him lick his boots. But Feng grabbed the boss by the throat with incredible speed and asked if he could now repeat what he had just said. Feng twisted his arms and told Tang to go over and hit the boss, but Tang stood in a stupor and was very scared. Feng asked him if he wanted to be a real man, he should go all the way, otherwise, he would remain a useless coward. Tang remembered how Huang bullied him over the years and he had to endure it. Tang shouted that he wanted to be a coward, and didn't want to be bullied all his life as deep down he wanted to be a real man. He started beating his boss and said he couldn't bully him anymore. Tang said if Feng became the boss he would be happy to follow him. But at this point Feng said Tang just beat their boss and he needed revenge. Tang stood in a stupor and could not believe it. Feng offered to protect Huang, but he had to pay him for it or he would throw him out the window. Huang said he had no money at all. After a while, Tang brought the money and Feng told him to give the money back to his classmates who were paying for protection. Huang said to let him go since he got the money. Feng grabbed him by the neck and carried him to the window. He said he wouldn't let him go as he might come back to get revenge. Then Feng threw him out the window. He said he hoped he would survive. At this point everyone ran out of the classroom because they thought Huang was dead. Tang was really scared. He asked what they should do, because if Huang died, part of the blame would be on him. Feng told him to calm down, because Huang was now lying in the trash and he was conscious. And now, after an incident like that no one would laugh off. After a while Feng went outside and there were men in black suits waiting for him. They told him to get into a car slowly. There was a man sitting in the car. He asked him if he knew who he was. Feng recognized him because he was Vivi's father and his name was Gatian, and he was a well-known entrepreneur and philanthropist. Feng thought that Gatian wanted to thank him for saving his daughter and said that 1 million yuan would be enough for him. Gatian laughed at him and said that before talking about it, he wanted to ask him something. He asked if he was following his daughter on purpose. After all, when his daughter was kidnapped, he was an ordinary cab driver and happened to be around, but already today he has turned into a high school senior. Feng said it was just a coincidence. After all, maybe it was fate, as he better think about the fact that he could be his son-in-law, and then he would not have to pay him anything, and in the future share dozens of assets with him. Gatian asked furiously, does he think he is joking with him? Feng said, then why should he confess to something he didn't do? Gatian said he would call the police now. At this point Feng started kicking him, for his impudence. The driver and the guards were distracted by them and at this point they crashed into the truck. But Feng grabbed Gatian and threw him out the window and they survived. Feng said there was nobody in the truck. He asked Gatian if he thought he had set it up. Gatian replied that he couldn't have known he was waiting for him and couldn't have calculated that they would take this particular route. Gatian said someone wanted to kill him and had for a long time. He assumed that these people were connected to his daughter's kidnapping. Feng left and said that a good man is often misunderstood, it is common for him. Gatian ordered increased security for his wife and children and to immediately investigate the case and find those responsible. In the evening Feng was sitting at a nightclub. He was surprised that the prices were very high. The waitress came up to him and he ordered ramen with egg noodles. The waitress said she would bring food in a few minutes. Feng was poor, as money from work is barely enough to pay his tuition and there is almost no money for food. Also, he can't find a suitable apartment to rent for long. At this time, customers told the waitress that they had a cockroach in their soup and demanded compensation, but she said it couldn't be and said she would fix it. But they didn't need to fix anything and urged her to pay 20,000 yuan, as compensation. It was too much money for the waitress, at which point the man took her by the hand and said she could pay another way. She was very scared and said she would now call the police. But the men got angry at her and told her to shut up immediately. They were from the Black Fox clan. The man said he had no reason to lie and how dare she accuse them of anything. The visitors were scared of them since the Black Fox clan are considered the bosses of the area. The man told her to prove that he didn't have a cockroach in his soup or she would have to pay. Suddenly Feng said it was easy to prove because you just have to spit out what he just ate. The man indignantly asked who the hell he was. Feng said that he just offered to check if what he said was true. The bandit didn't care because Feng was disturbing him and called him a stupid child. But suddenly Feng jumped him and hit him with all his might in the stomach. This blow made the bandit feel sick. Everyone was shocked and stood in a stupor, as no one before had behaved this way with the Black Fox clan. The bandit's friend picked up a chair and wanted to defend his friend. But Feng kicked a glass bottle right under his feet. He couldn't stand on it and fell face down. Feng stepped on their head and told them to look for the cockroach they were talking about. After a few minutes Feng let them go and they said they would come back to him and get their revenge. The waitress thanked him for sticking up for her, but she didn't know how she could thank him. Feng said he didn't need anything since the two thugs had pissed him off from the start. But she handed him the money and said he could keep his order unpaid. Feng wanted to take her money since he didn't have any money. With everything he said he didn't need a reward for good deeds. He thanked her for the food and said he had to look for an apartment or else he would be left sleeping on the street. But he saw an ad on a pole that someone was offering to rent an apartment. The waitress said it was her ad. She asked him if he would be okay with her option. A few minutes later they went to her apartment and Feng was very surprised. The waitress said that two girls used to live here, but today they moved out. Feng asked how much does it cost to rent her apartment. She said he might not have to pay today, but her husband is in charge of the rent, but he works the night shift, so he can negotiate the price tomorrow. The waitress forgot to introduce herself and said her name was Lana. Feng was tired from the day and decided to go to the bathroom to take a shower. At that time a car came to the house and a girl in a blue dress got out. She went into the apartment Feng was in. She came from a night out which she didn't like. She decided to get in the shower too as she smelled like cigarette smoke. But when she got in the shower she saw Feng. As it turned out it was June, the English teacher. After a few minutes Feng got out of the shower and called Lana. She apologized to them as she thought two girls had moved out but it turned out to only one. She said she was coming soon to personally apologize for the situation. Feng apologized to the teacher. He said he didn't bring his things, so he would leave this apartment, and promised not to tell anyone that he saw her like this. The teacher told him he could stay with her. Feng went up to her and started thanking her for not leaving him in her face. She said he could stay here, but he had to promise her, but if he didn't she won't forgive him. June told him that he should enter the national English competition that will be held in a month. Feng was surprised, since he thought he would have to give her shoulder massages every day. She said they should avoid suspicion and suspicious looks, and should keep it a secret that they have a teacher-student relationship. Feng asked how they should explain to everyone that they live in the same apartment. A few minutes later Lana came in. Feng lied to her and told her that June is related to him. Lana believed them and offered to come to the cafe where she works tomorrow and she would treat them to a free dinner. That evening Huang came to his brother and complained about being humiliated at school today by a new student and poor Tan, and afterwards they threw him in the trash. The brother couldn't allow his brother to be treated this way and said he would sort it out. The next day May told Vivi that they should talk to Fong, but Vivi said it was none of her business and told May to go alone. Vivi laughed at her and asked, did she really like Fong? Maybe that's why she's afraid to go near him. May worked up the courage and approached him. She invited him to her birthday party. Fong was surprised and said he would come to her birthday party. She said her dad would like to see him at the birthday party too to thank him personally. After a while Liao came up to Fong and told him that the principal urgently called him to his office. Fong came and saw Tan standing in a ridiculous pose and asked, what is he doing here? But the principal angrily said he was talking to him. He gave him a school punishment document, and told him to write a 5,000-word explanation and then personally apologize to Huang for throwing him in the trash. Fong was surprised, since the principal's last name was also Huang. He asked, are he and that bully really related? The principal said it had nothing to do with the case. However, if not for his uncle Gaetian, he would have been expelled from the school for throwing a student out the window yesterday, right in the trash. Fong wondered if Gaetian told the principal that they were related, since he knew he would get in trouble for this incident. After a while Fong and Tang left the office. Tang said that the principal and Huang are indeed related. Fong noticed that every time Tang talks about the Huang family, he gets very angry. Tang exclaimed that he hates their whole family, but since they have more influence, he cannot do anything about it. Fong asked him, if he had a choice, choose the Huang family or the Gaetian family, who would he choose? Tang said that of course he would choose the Gaetian family. He asked him, is it true that Gaetian is his uncle? Fong smirked and said it was almost true. Liao and his friend saw that Fong and Tang left the principal's office without any punishment. Liao was furious and said this should be told to Huang. After school Tang invited Fong to his house for lunch, but suddenly they were stopped. It was Huang and his older Bart Chen. They came to him to get revenge for yesterday's incident. At that moment Fong felt something very bad. Tang was furious. He said that their father is a big tycoon and his father, Huang and Chen, are responsible for his mother's death and they also broke his father's leg. Suddenly Huang laughed hard and called his mother and father useless. Fong asked Tang to calm down. He asked Huang what his older brother wanted from him. Huang said that they had come to avenge yesterday's incident. Because Chen would break his legs today and make him disabled for the rest of his life. At this point, Fong grabbed him by the throat again and asked, didn't he realize who he was messing with? Huang's friend started attacking him to help their friend, but Fong was using him as a shield and Huang was getting hit by the bat. At this point, Chen told everyone to stop as he wanted to deal with him himself. He pounced on him using his strongest punch called First World Kick. But at the last moment Fong hit him in the groin area. Chen did not expect this and fell to his knees screaming in pain. At this time everyone was frightened and called him a real devil. Suddenly Chen pulled out his knife and wanted to kill him, but Fong hit him with his own brother's head. Fong then grabbed his knife and told him to get out of here since he can't even hold a knife properly. Fong cut all his clothes. He told them that they didn't dare show up in front of him or he would kill them next time. Chen cowardly ran away from him and friends took Huang and ran away too. Tang told him that he had just humiliated the Huang family members and they could come back, but Fong said he had people to stand up for him too. After a while Fong went to Tang's house. It was very clean but smelled strongly of alcohol. His father was lying on the couch. Tang said his dad drinks almost every day and littered, but he tries to clean the apartment. Fong saw the picture and asked, did his dad fight in the war? Tang said his father is ex-military, but now lies drunk on the couch all day. Fong asked to know more about his family and Huang's family. Tang showed him the construction site and said that he and his family used to live there, but that place was stolen by real estate agents at a very low price, and several people died that night in the conflict. Feng asked if his mother was among those dead. Tang said yes. His father was also there that night, so he got his leg hurt. Those real estate agents had power and influence, so they solved this conflict with money. The Huang family did it all. Tong and his son were responsible for this conflict. At this point the father woke up and asked Tang who he brought to their house. Tang said it was his new friend and classmate. Suddenly Feng asked Tang to go get a beer because he wanted to have a drink with his father. Tang listened to him and ran to the store, but at that moment Feng stood up in the bar and said he wanted to spar a little with him. Father called himself an old man and said he could not compare to the young guy. So he lay down on the couch and said he would just wait until Tang got the beer. Feng said that it's a shame for a soldier who used to be part of the 17th Razorblade Division. Uncle Wang was surprised when he heard this and agreed to fight him. After a while Tang came and saw his father and Feng were crippled. He asked if they had fought, but Tang hadn't seen his father so happy for a long time. His father told him that his classmate was also once a soldier, so they decided to have a little talk. His father told his son to prepare food since he was in a good mood tonight and they would drink with his friend all night. His father was surprised that young people were so strong now, but unfortunately he was no longer their opponent. He noticed that Feng had great skills. He asked if he was also a knife squad member. Feng City said that he was above that squad. Father couldn't believe it and asked, was he really a member of the sword squad? But Feng said that even just above. Father could not believe it, because the sword squad is already selected soldiers from the knives. Each swordsman can fight as 10 knives. Only the last, the best among the swordsmen, the legendary Outlaws squad. Feng said that he had only been a member there for a couple of months. His father was incomprehensible as he couldn't even compare to swordsmen and he had been in the Forbidden Squad for months. But Feng was at a higher level, but he didn't want to talk about it for fear of scaring him. Feng asked him to tell him about the situation that had happened between him and the Huang family, and advised him to take revenge on them, as otherwise he would remain a useless drunk. At this point Wang apologized to his late wife, as he had tried every possible option, but it had never worked out. Feng told him that he too is feuding with the Huang family, and now they have common enemies, but since Wang has limited capabilities, he is unable to fight the Huang family alone, but if Feng and Wang unite, they will have a chance to defeat them. Wang wondered, does he really have a way to defeat the Huang family? Feng said yes, but together with using brute force, they need solid evidence to crush their whole family at once. So he needs his help, because if he helps find evidence, he can deal with them. Wang said he could easily find lots of evidence, and if others said they could deal with the Huang family, he would not believe it, but Feng was a member of the Forbidden Squad before, so he believed his words. Tan stood outside the door and wondered what they were talking about. In the evening Feng was sitting at the bus stop waiting for the bus, but at that moment Gaetian came to him. Feng told him that he was beginning to suspect him of following him, but Gaetian asked him to get in his car. Feng asked why such a powerful and rich man would need him, since he was just an ordinary poor student. Gaetian said that this time he was really looking for him to thank him for saving his daughter and offered to be his daughter's personal bodyguard. Feng called himself an ordinary schoolboy, plus he can't spend all day with his daughter. Gaetian said it was just for May's birthday, since he found out who was behind that attack. He's getting ready to deal with them, but those people might attack his daughter on her birthday. Daughter didn't like the bodyguards he was offering, so he decided to find him. Gaetian pulled out an envelope and told him to be sure, so it was all for a reason. Feng opened the envelope and there was 100,000 yuan, and all he had to do was have a birthday party with his daughter. Feng said it was not about money as he had no reason to refuse. Gaetian left him at the bus stop and said he had other things to do. Feng was incredibly happy, because thanks to the money, he wouldn't have to worry about paying rent for months. When he got home, he saw June had changed into her robe and was having a tea ceremony. He asked what kind of cosplay was it. She said it wasn't cosplay, and she didn't invite him to have tea with her, but Fong said he knew a little bit about tea. He decided to try it and recognized the type of tea, but asked her why she didn't get the right temperature for the tea, but she grabbed the cup from him and told him not to say so. Fong laughed at her and said she didn't look like an ice princess now, she looked like a little girl. She said he was right and she just liked doing tea ceremonies. The old man used to teach her, but he told her she had no talent. Fong said it was not a matter of talent, but a matter of feeling. She said he was rude to her and offered to drink the tea he was about to make especially for her. A few minutes later he brewed the tea and offered to drink it. She tasted it and was very surprised as she had not had such delicious tea in a long time. Fong said he was no master, but her tea lacked only sincerity and said that she would surely. She told him that he was not at all like an ordinary student, and she wanted to discuss something with him. But Fong said he was not interested in discussing his teacher's personal problems and said good night. But she asked him to stop as she wanted him to help her. June suggested that he be her boyfriend for tomorrow night. He asked her to stop joking around as he's just a schoolboy and it wouldn't be good. June said it's just for tomorrow night as she has to see a man who she doesn't like, and she wanted him to help her in this situation. Fong couldn't refuse her and he had to agree. He went outside to recover from this conversation, but at that moment he heard screams for help, a woman screaming that her baby had just been kidnapped. Fong ran to help and jumped over a small river. One of the bandits saw this and warned everyone that someone had just jumped over the river and was running toward them. They started running to the car, but Fong had time and hit one bandit. Another bandit had a kidnapped baby. He angrily exclaimed, "How dare he interfere in their affairs?" At this point the driver told him to get in the car immediately. But Fong ran up to him with incredible speed and kicked him under the doors. A few minutes later the police arrived. They asked the victim if she could describe the person who did all this. The woman said she didn't have time to see him, but he was good and he saved her child. He told the old man that the person who did this had already left here. The old man said that he already guessed who did it, because among all the people he knew, there was only one who had such destructive power. The next day Fong came to school and Tan asked him surprisingly what he had talked to his father about, since after their conversation, his father stopped drinking and started practicing. At this point, June overheard talking and told them not to talk during class. Fong winked at her and she was very embarrassed. Fong said that June used to be the best student at Zhejiang University. She must have had many guys who courted her. Tan wondered, did he really have a crush on her? After all, she has many secret admirers at school, and he would have to fall in line just to dream about her. At this point, she felt uncomfortable and started correcting her clothes. In the evening he came home and she gave him designer clothes. Fong asked her how much those clothes cost, but she told him not to ask such a question and just to silently change his clothes. 10 minutes later he changed and was surprised that he didn't even tell her his size, but she sized the suit perfectly. June was embarrassed when she saw him in the suit. She told him that he would be introduced as a Harvard graduate with his own company and a yearly salary of $1 million. She told him to remember his new identity. 2 hours later she was ready. June wore a fancy dress. Fong was surprised to see her since she goes to school strictly in closed clothes. They went outside and Fong wanted to call a cab. She told him that he is now $1 million entrepreneur, he should have his own car. That's why she rented a sports car for him. They got in the car and Fong called her a teacher and wanted to ask a question, but at that moment she told him not to call her a teacher because her name is Xiao. Fong asked who the man she hated so much. Xiao said he was her fiancé, her parents found for her. They wanted to marry her off to a rich guy. They arrived at the port and there was a boat. Fong was surprised and said that the guy was really very rich, but Xiao said he was just renting it. She took his hand and the servants told her that her fiancé was already waiting for her on the 3rd floor. They asked her who was that with her. Xiao said it was her boyfriend and walked silently to the yacht. Feng found out that that guy is from the Situ family in Beijing. He heard that she is a satisfied big, and no one in Beijing dares to stand against them. Xiao asked him how he knew that. Feng said he heard it from the vegetable vendor downstairs. But Xiao said an ordinary vendor couldn't have known about it. At this point that guy came to them with a bouquet of flowers. He said he had been waiting for her for a long time. But she turned them down and said she didn't like the flowers. He threw the flowers away and asked why she left Beijing and said he looked even prettier since the last time they met. Mr. Situ invited them to a sumptuous dinner, because they cooked beef steaks, the meat brought from abroad. Xiao wanted to refuse, but Feng told her that it was impolite to refuse dinner. Situ saw that he was holding her hand and angrily asked him who he was, and told the guards to throw him out immediately. But Xiao asked him to calm down and said that Feng was her boyfriend, but Situ was very angry. He said did he decide to steal his girlfriend and asked. Feng grabbed his arm and told him to watch his tongue, saying that he would send his body to his brother named Micheng. Situ asked how he knew his brother. Feng said he found out from the vegetable vendor downstairs, and told him to apologize to him immediately. Situ was greatly frightened. He didn't understand who he was, and why he dared to speak so disrespectfully to Sithu's family member. At that moment a man approached. He turned to Sithu, saying he should show him respect because if Feng hadn't known his brother in the past, Sithu would be dead by now. As it turned out, this man was the teacher's grandfather. He said he came here to meet his granddaughter, but never expected to meet Feng here. He approached him and said it had been a while since they had met. Xiao asked him, when did he get here and how did he know Feng? Grandpa said he more than knew him. He said that after Feng went missing, they searched for him for 2 years, but by a great coincidence they met here. Feng asked him why they were looking for him. After all, he was supposed to undo that injustice, not look for him. Grandpa said they tried to do it. They sent people dozens of hundreds of times to look for him, but they could never find the body. Feng said that no wolves, no tigers, no panthers, no beasts should have stopped them, and all that matters to him is the fact that they did not find the body. Xiao asked Grandpa in surprise, what are they even talking about? But Feng asked her to forget about it. He said he couldn't help her anymore and was about to leave. Grandpa exclaimed that after he left, the Xianyuan pavilion was no longer popular and even the top 20 masters had left, which is why everyone is waiting for him to return. Feng called himself not all-powerful and he has no intention to return as he is now a simple high school student. He was about to leave, but his grandfather asked him to stop him, but he didn't care what he said. Suddenly a man stopped him and asked, can't he hear what his grandfather is telling him? Feng told him that he wasn't his rival, and he wasn't in the mood right now. The man grabbed him by the shoulder and called him arrogant. But at that moment Feng grabbed his arm and punched him in the stomach. From that punch he flew off into the wall. Xiao didn't understand what was happening here and asked everyone to stop, but the man didn't want to stop. He pounced on him, but Feng dodged and hit him again. The man apologized to his grandfather for losing to him, but the grandfather asked not to blame himself because he was beaten by an extraordinary man. After all, he lost to the strongest soldier in China, top 100 soldier in the whole world, and the top 3 killer. Feng's nickname is King. Feng came to a nightclub and drank alcohol. He started to remember how he was running away from his opponents with his girlfriend, but when they ran to the cliff she fell down and Feng couldn't save her. Suddenly a girl walked by him and accidentally grazed his hand. This made Feng spill alcohol on himself. She apologized to him and said she did it by accident. Feng said it's okay and asked if there was anything he could do to help her. But at that moment she bent over to him and Feng didn't understand what she was going to do. He asked her not to hurry, offered to start talking and get to know each. But she asked him to be quiet because she was in trouble. At this time several men entered the club. The ringleader told them how they could not notice that that girl was missing. They tried to find her because if she escaped they would be in more trouble. After a while they left and Fong told her she could get out. She thanked him for his help and apologized for getting his clothes dirty. Fong was upset because he thought he had met the one, but it was only a momentary encounter. 10 minutes later those men caught her. They demanded some kind of video from her, but the girl told them that she hadn't filmed anything. They came by Fong and she asked him to call the police urgently. A thug came up to him and told him that he better forget what he just saw or he wouldn't be able to see anything at all later. As he walked away he said not to dare provoke the Black Fox clan. Hearing the Black Fox clan, Fong was furious and started banging his head against the table. Everyone was shocked and didn't understand why Fong did it. Fong was very angry, as he had heard about the Black Fox clan too often. The ringleader came up to him and asked him where he was from and if he knew whose club it was. The visitors recognized him. He was known by the nickname Cyclops, but one of the visitors asked who was Cyclops. He said there are 4 famous masters in the gang of 4 foxes, a big white shark, a black dog, a crazy tiger and Cyclops. They all have distinctive traits, each is violent and strong and they also have powerful people behind them. Cyclops said that when someone comes into their club to do business or just to drink, they consider him their brother, but when visitors give him trouble they can't sit still. He asked him, what is his name? Fong said his name is Sheriff Black Cat and told them to put their hands up. Cyclops was told he was just over drinking. He replied that they have a reputation and it wouldn't be good to ruin it because of people like him. Cyclops said if he didn't like something about the service he could voice his opinion later in the book Pathetic. Fong said he wasn't going anywhere and he will take care of that girl first, since he wants to take her with him. Cyclops said that this girl just filmed their confidential negotiations and if she doesn't give them back the video, they can't let her go. Fong replied that she handed him some flash drive with the video but he tried to find it and said he lost it. The bandits told him to find the flash drive immediately. But at that moment Fong looked at them with a horrible look, after which the bandits stood in a stupor. Fong called them trash who dared to hurt a defenseless girl. He said that trash will always remain trash, and they won't hide it in any way by making up different names for gangs and clans. Everyone was shocked by his boldness, as he had just called the Black Fox gang trash. One of the thugs said, how dare he provoke the Black Fox gang, is he really looking for his death? Fong replied that he was looking for his death, and told him to try to kill him. But the bandit was afraid of him, and only said it to look cool. He ran out of alcohol and told the barman to pour more. At this time Cyclops offered to kill him, as Fong was very drunk. Cyclops told them to stand still, as none of them can overpower him. For without great ability, there would be no great confidence, and he has it to challenge them all. But since he provokes him, he can't refuse, since he is their leader and must defend the honor of the Black Fox gang. Cyclops said that he is famous for his darts game and if Fong can dodge his darts, then he will let him and that girl go. In fact, this is Cyclops' secret trick. They said that he can kill people with darts that even people will not notice anything. But at this point the girl asked to stop since Fong had nothing to do with it. She was willing to give them the video to let him go. Fong said he accepted his offer, since he wanted to see if he could dodge his darts. Cyclops thought, since Fong had to thank him for that he had a chance to see his Cyclops skills. After all, to master this technique, he blinded himself with one eye and now his throw is faster than a bullet and yet no one could dodge it. At this time, Fong was poured wine and began to drink. Cyclops realized that this was the perfect moment to throw a dart. The girl called him a mean old man because he started attacking at a time when Fong was not ready for it. Cyclops said that if Fong could dodge the first dart, he threw the other 2 so that no matter where he dodged, one of the darts would definitely kill him. But at this point Fong had no intention of dodging, he just caught them all with his glass. Fong was surprised as he really didn't have time to notice where the 4 darts came from. Cyclops and his gang stood perplexed, but the girl was glad that he had succeeded. Fong realized that it was over and offered her to leave here. But at this point Cyclops told everyone to stay in their seats. He recognized his strength as he could catch all 4 darts, so he could leave, but the girl must also dodge so she too can leave. The girl said she now has a brother to protect him, so she is not afraid of anyone. Because Cyclops is blind in one eye, but her brother's strength should have been discerned. Fong thought about her words, for they made sense, for if Cyclops has only one eye but cannot see with it, then he should be deprived of his second eye. Fong threw a dart and hit Cyclops in his second eye. Cyclops screamed in pain and told everyone to surround him and call everyone to kill Fong. The girl told him that there were too many bandits and he had better run away. Fong joyfully said that he had been waiting for this, and told her to hide immediately so that she would not disturb him until it was over. In a few minutes Fong could handle all 30 bandits alone. Cyclops exclaimed that it did not matter, since today he had only defeated the weakest of the 4 great masters of the Black Fox gang. The others will come to get back at him. Fong thanked him for the warning, but he didn't like being threatened, besides he is always ready to fight these great masters. Fong left and Cyclops told his assistant to report the whole situation immediately so that the great masters would kill Fong. He was walking down the street and that girl from the club asked him to stop. Fong told her that she was in no danger now, so why did she follow him? She said her name is Sang and she wanted to meet him. She said she was interning as a journalist at Yangchen News. Fong understood why she recorded the gang's grave conversations and why they were chasing her. Sang said she would get evidence and this time, their whole gang will go to jail. But Fong told her that she is very naive. She asked why. He told her, does she really think that such a big and powerful faction will go to jail because of a few pieces of evidence? He advised her to forget about this job and leave town, because otherwise she might forget about the quiet life. He got in his car, drove away and said that maybe they would meet again, but she told him to leave her his phone number. But he ignored her. She was very holla and was not going to leave this job, and promised to put all members of this gang away. In the morning Cyclops came to the boss. The boss told him that he had let him down badly and he had lost the face of the Black Fox gang. The boss demanded an explanation from him. Cyclops said that he might be weaker than all the other great masters, but that guy was incredible and he had never met anyone like him. At that moment the great master with the nickname White Shark came in. The boss asked him if he had gotten anything. He replied that that girl's name is Sang, she's interning as a journalist at Yangchen News, and as for that guy, his name is Fong, he's a transfer student at the high school and has probably had frequent conflicts with their gang. Crazy Tiger recognized him, since he recently heard that Fong had dealt with Huang Chen in just a few punches. He asked the boss to let him deal with him. The White Shark told him that he listened about his brother provoking Fong first, and after he got beaten he ran to the Black Foxes, and then when he and the Black Foxes got beaten again he cowardly ran. And now Fong came to them and provoked his friend, and now he wants to take the guys and get his revenge. White Shark asked him, does he want revenge for their gang or for his family? Crazy Tiger got mad at him and White Shark offered to fight. But the boss stopped them and let Tiger deal with him and told him to make it clean, because a man like Fong is dangerous to them and he will spare no effort if necessary to kill him. Fong came home and saw June asleep right on the couch. He was worried about her and wanted to cover her with his jacket so she wouldn't catch a cold. But she got scared of him and slapped him. Fong wondered how she got so much strength. She said she didn't do it on purpose because she didn't know he would come home so late and scare her so much. Fong said he parked his car outside and he wanted to go to bed. But she stopped him and apologized for what happened today. She didn't know what happened between him and her grandpa, and she didn't know why her grandfather had come there. She assumed that the two of them had known each other for a long time, and also her grandfather called him a king who shook the world. Fong said, Could a king turn into such a beggarly man? Besides, she was more suited to the title of king. She asked him why he had transferred to high school. And how does he know people from Beijing, and asked him who he really is. Feng asked her why she didn't believe him, because he told her he was just an ordinary high school student. The next day Feng came to Vivi's birthday party. He was met at their house by a butler named Donghua. He said he was warned about him coming. But Donghua wondered, because if he dared to go into Madame's room, he would never leave this house again. Feng asked where Mr. Gaetyong was now. Dunbo said that the master had already left on business. At this time Mr. Bao came in. The butler greeted him gladly as he thought he was a good admirer of Mrs. Vivi. He thought he would definitely disturb Feng. Bao said that he came early today as it was Vivi's birthday and he had prepared a great gift. He said that Feng looked shabby and asked what gift he had prepared for Vivi. This point Vivi came in and was very happy to see Feng. Bao told her she looked incredible today. Feng said he couldn't help but come to miss Vivi's birthday. But Vivi asked him not to call her that anymore. Bao was happy about it as Miss Vivi was already beginning to dislike this Feng. Bao gave her a piano that he had specially brought from abroad for several million yuan, as she had recently talked about wanting to learn to play the piano. Feng in turn gave her pancakes with milk. Bao laughed at him as Feng brought food he bought on the street. But Vivi said she really liked fritters with milk and she liked his gift. After a while Vivi went up to her room. She didn't understand why she took a gift from him as she didn't even like street food. She wondered what he thought of her, but this feeling gave her pleasure. At this time Feng and Bao sat in the living room. Bao introduced himself again and said, "Does he know who?" Feng said he knew his grandfather, and asked him if he was Jiaoji's grandson, right? Bao said that his grandfather's name is actually Yuang, not Jiaojing. Donghua said that it's normal that Feng doesn't know Mr. Bao. He is one of the 8 elite people of Yangchen. They are all talented and rich, and only high-ranking people know from them. For example, Mr. Bao's talent is music, especially playing the piano. He has won many awards for it and he was called the best player. At this time a girl came and asked what they were talking about. She told the butler that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Donghua couldn't believe his eyes, because her name was Bei and he hadn't seen her in over 10 years. He said he would go upstairs right away and let her know. Bao said why didn't he know that Vivi had such a friend? Suddenly she pounced on him and wanted to kick him in the face, but at the last moment she stopped, called him fat and asked, "Does he like to know everything about Vivi?" Feng was surprised, as her attack was pretty quick. At this point she asked him, "Does he like to know things too?" But Feng said he didn't know much about Vivi at all. Vivi went downstairs and couldn't imagine coming back just today on her birthday. Bei told her that in 10 years she had turned into a real miss. Vivi said they hadn't seen each other since elementary school and there they were best friends, but suddenly she went overseas. Bei said she's not a lady now because she studied boxing while she was overseas, and she came back to China, only to wish her happy birthday. Bei had already heard about what happened to her and said she would be her bodyguard today. Vivi was very happy about it since her dad told her not to leave the house, but in that case, they could go to the mall and not be afraid of anything. Vivi suggested to Feng that he go with them but Bei said she has a 2-seater motorcycle and it definitely won't fit. Feng said they could follow them in Bao's car, but Bao indignantly exclaimed that he's not a cab driver. Feng asked, "Doesn't he want to go shopping with Vivi?" Bao said of course he does. They got in the car and Feng asked him to drive faster as they might lose them. Bao asked indignantly, why should he be his driver? This point Feng suggested to him that he get behind the wheel, but Bao ignored him. They arrived at the marketplace and Bei told Vivi that all the people and passers-by admire her beauty. Vivi was embarrassed and told her that she knows how to compliment. Feng said that Vivi and Bei so easily spend Mr. Gaitian's money. But Bao told him to shut up and said, why does he make him do all the hard work? Fong told him that he probably hasn't realized the whole situation yet. If he wants to go shopping with Vivi, it's much better than playing the piano for her. Bao wondered, does he really think so? Fong said that Vivi has been well off and used to luxury since she was born, and does he really think she could be surprised by playing the piano? But her father is always busy with business, he hardly spends any time with her. Now what she needs most is a big and strong male hand to carry shopping bags for her. And now he does it, she will definitely fall in love with him. Bao was incredibly happy and believed him. They went shopping for a long time and after a while Vivi got hungry. After a while they came to a cafe and were eating ice cream. Bei complimented her and Vivi jokingly said that Bei turned into a lesbian while she was overseas. Bei said if that was really true, she would be a lot more gentle than those damn guys. Bao got mad at her and angrily asked who did she just call devils. Fong asked him to calm down and think, because probably Bei says bad things just to get closer to Vivi, and if he falls for her provocations he will lose. Since now is the critical moment and it's time to prove himself, like he has to pay for the food. Bao said, does he think that's all he can do, because it's easy for him? Bao exclaimed, if Vivi likes eating steak in this restaurant, then he's willing to buy the restaurant and give it to Vivi. Vivi thanked him for being so generous, but she said that she doesn't eat steak that often. Bao was incredibly happy as it was the first time she thanked him. At that moment a waiter walked by them and picked up a knife, but suddenly Bei threw a knife at him and wanted to kill that waiter as she thought he wanted to kill Vivi. But suddenly her knife ended up on the ceiling, nailed with a fork. As it turned out the waiter didn't mean to kill Vivi, he just forgot to put the knife on the next table. Bei asked Fong in surprise, did he do it, since he not only predicted that she would throw the knife, but threw the fork so that her knife changed its trajectory. Fong said that she should just relax, since incoherence breeds mistakes, and just that she could kill an innocent waiter. Bei was frightened and asked him who he was anyway. Fong said he was just Vivi's classmate, and what was she so surprised about that? But Bei didn't believe him. Vivi said that Fong was awesome because he was the one who saved her from being kidnapped. Fong said that was true, and announced that he was her bodyguard today. After the restaurant they went to the park and they had a great time riding the rides. Vivi was very happy as she had never had so much fun before. Vivi wanted to go to the bathroom and Bei offered to go with her. After entering the bathroom, Bei started texting on her phone. She was texted that it was an idiotic mistake as she almost revealed her real identity. Bei apologized and wrote that she thought it was the murderer who wanted the reward for Vivi's head. She was texted that the bounty was really tempting and many assassins went after it, so she should speed up and leave no chance for other assassins. Bei replied that they had not told her that there would be a strong master next to the target, with incredible power, and he was greatly interfering with her plan. She was written that they would find her another man and he would secretly help her. Her employer had made it clear to them that Vivi had to be killed today or there would be no reward. Bei turned off her phone and threw it in the trash. At that time, Fong went into the women's bathroom and all the girls told them to call the police. Fong said he was a bodyguard and where Vivi is, he must be too. Bei wondered, does he guess who she really is, and is following her on purpose, or is he just a pervert who takes the opportunity to sneak into the women's bathroom? A few minutes later they headed home and Vivi thanked her for today. They arrived home and the butler told her that her mom and dad were back and now they were decorating a cake just for her. Vivi was excited and asked Bei and Fong to wait for her as she changed. Left alone, Fong said he felt very sorry for Vivi. Bei asked what he meant. Fong replied that such a young and beautiful girl is always the target of ruthless plots, and yet she could have been as happy every day as she was today. Fong called Vivi an angel with an innocent smile, but today, someone wanted to destroy that innocent smile from that angel. And that someone is her best friend, it is so unfortunate. Fong told her to stop pretending and it didn't make sense anymore, and besides, she had seen his abilities herself. She asked, does he really think he can stop her? Fong said in surprise, maybe she wants to test it. Suddenly Fong told her to relax, because he used to be an assassin, too, and now he's retired from the business. Plus Gideon pays him 100,000 yuan to protect Vivi.